there's a story in every bottle.
We are live.
We're live. Cheers.
Does this make a sound?
It's Monday.
Is this straight out of my
Cheers.
Is this straight out of my cranium? To the sound?
Beep, beep, beep,
sound
beep,
waves?
beep, beep.
Do people hear that?
Hi, Ken. Nice to see you. It's Monday.
It's Monday?
Are you playing with the mic?
Monday. Monday.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers to you too.
Cheers,
And
everybody.
We have a live audience today.
We do. Cheers to our live audience.
Cheers.
Welcome, everybody, to another Monday night episode with the Hermits. Thank you for joining us.
Hermits.
If you were, well, we've been called that before.
Can I
Though
get
there
sound
isn't.
effects?
It is funny that you call yourselves the Hermits, but there isn't really much hermit-like about you
Either
or
of us.
Ken or
Yeah,
Chuck.
no.
Really, you're
Yeah, this whole thing
Right,
is
you're
not very
quite
hermit-like.
sociable.
Broadcasting out to the world, live audience.
Yeah, so moving on from that, if you are here for the first time joining us for our show, thank you. We appreciate that. And please take a moment, if you will, to subscribe to our channel. If you're on YouTube, you can subscribe right below Ken. And if you're on Facebook, there's a little bell on the screen. You click that bell and you'll subscribe. If you subscribe to our channel, you will get an opportunity to learn about every time we go live, which is almost every Monday.
Yeah.
And oftentimes other days and times in the wilds of the world. Sometimes on the ski slope, sometimes in the bay, in the Narragansett Bay, who knows, Penobscot Bay. We go live at different times for different reasons, and you'll get notified if you subscribe.
We're going sailing out to Martha's Vineyard soon, aren't we? Are we going out that way?
Yeah, we are. So, moving right along, we...
I thought you had done the preamble.
No, I'm not. I just wanted to let everybody know, because I'm not done the preamble,
Sorry.
that if you're joining us, we'd love it if you'd let us know you're joining us. So please make a comment, let us know you're here, and then we'll know, we'll say hello, and we'll know you're visiting us. And if you have any questions during the broadcast, please type them into the comment section, and we will answer your questions as best we can during the show. If we can't get to your question during the show, we'll get to it after. And if you do like the broadcast today or any of the broadcasts that you see from us, please share those broadcasts with your friends, family, or anybody you think might enjoy learning from us or hearing from the topics that we're engaged in here at Hermit Woods. And if you would like this broadcast, that would be wonderful too. Just click the like button, and then more people will get an opportunity to see us. So.
And even if you're watching after the fact, if you're not joining us live, still let us know that you're here. We love to know that people are watching later on. And if you have questions and they show up later, we'll go back and
We'll always
answer
answer them,
even
yeah.
after the fact. So
That's it. I'm done the preamble. You can go now. It's all you. What are we doing?
I got a microphone.
You had so much to say a minute ago.
A microphone. This is fun. I have a microphone. It's my turn.
Oh, we didn't say.
that was my turn.
We didn't tell people to tell us what they're drinking. What are you
we
drinking?
always want to know.
We want to know what you're drinking. Because what we're
Our
drinking.
live audience has a rosé flight, some strawberry rhubarb, and a little extra of what we have in our glasses as well.
Rose hip mead.
Rose hip mead.
So, here. For those of you who aren't aware, these are Rose Rugosa rose hips, recently picked by Ken and a crew of friends, family, volunteers.
8 people total.
8
out
people.
there. It was great.
300-400 pounds, something like that.
250.
200.
We processed and cleaned them, so we probably had 280 and 30 pounds of waste.
So,
was plucked off.
so
Sorry
this is
if
a
I
rose
picked any
hip.
bad ones.
You what?
I'm sorry if I picked some bad ones.
Well, that's
happens.
this one right
There's
here.
always
You
good.
picked this.
There's-
Did you
there's
pick
a-
this one? No. This is
That one
different.
looks pretty good.
I know.
That one
it
looks
is.
pretty good.
So we're drinking rose hip mead.
Yeah, the rose
Tell us
hip
about
mead,
it.
This was made back in 2021. So we harvested rose hips, and primarily the rose hips are used for our lake house white. But in that year in 21, we had enough extra rose hips that I finally could work on rose hips on their own, and I thought, oh, I bet it would be great to marry this with some honey, because rose hips are rich in vitamin C. They're very tangy, very sour, and honey can give some residual sweetness and character. It's still very tangy. This is almost like a
Very
sour
tangy.
beer.
Yeah, it's like a sour beer.
You know, it's got a lot of tanginess. There is some residual sweetness to it to try to balance that. But it's nice. It does capture.
It really is like a sour beer. It's really
It's
interesting.
like a sour beer. And, you know, the kiwi is another fruit that sometimes people, it will be reminiscent of beers. Remember when we had the Rebel was a kiwi session product
Yeah,
that we
yeah,
made
yeah.
when Bowie died. And that had some characteristics that were kind of beer-like.
This is good. I really like it.
That's what we did, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff on the table that are not normally here. We've got some wine because we're a winery and we talk about wine and we drink wine.
Well, and we wanted to start with the rose hip mead because we just came back from picking a lot of rose hips,
Not only that,
and you are
literally
downstairs.
half an hour ago, I finished processing the rose hips. So it's been since last Wednesday. So
And
it's been 5 days of, I have about
Picking.
probably 40 needles embedded in my fingers and my thumb. That
Rose
every
hip
once in a
needles?
while just go,
Yeah, I hate when that
Ones, yeah.
happens.
I have a whole bunch of them in there. And, but the little green ends on these things will end up making a fairly bitter, less fruity, less aromatic wine. One year I was plucking rose hip petals, getting stabbed too many times, and I'm like, you know what, I got half of them done, half of them are not done. I'm gonna split it up, and I'm gonna ferment half of them, de-stem, and half of them with the stems on in the exact same way, to see if it really matters taking the stems off. And unfortunately, it makes a big difference.
Because other fruits like
On
this,
strawberries,
when you
it
get
doesn't make a
strawberries, it
big
doesn't
difference.
matter, right? Yeah.
But it does
Well, it does matter a
on
little bit
roses.
because we still take the stems off of some of the strawberries, but it matters less. It's not as strong. It's not as
anymore,
prominent.
actually.
Not anymore? Oh. Doesn't matter at all.
In they go.
In they go.
In they go.
Is this the first year you've done that?
Nope, third year.
Oh, well, it must be working.
It's working.
Yeah.
Good. So you also just came from downstairs. You're doing something different from this year. You had done it before in a smaller batch, but you're doing something special.
Right. There's a fascinating process in the world of wines. Some of you may be familiar with Nouveau Beaujolais. So in that region of France, just outside of Burgundy, they grow this grape called Gamay. And the Gamay grape is a larger grape. It's a good eating grape, but it's a good wine grape. But it makes a wine that's tends to be fairly fruity and upfront in character. And the French, over the centuries, have developed a technique of presenting more of that fruitiness into the glass sooner than later. So they go through and will make a fresh wine from the Gamay grape. They'll harvest it in 23, and they will have that wine bottled and started to be consumed in 23.
It's just a couple months.
It's just a very
Wow.
quick turnaround. You went there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, there's some rules about
Oh, yeah.
it can't go too long or else it doesn't apply.
Right.
It
And
can't,
then it's going to be a Beaujolais, but not a Nouveau Beaujolais.
not a Beaujolais Nouveau.
And there are some fantastic Beaujolais where they've taken that Gamay, they've fermented it in a more classic standard format, and then barrel aged it, and it has some aging potential, and it's really nice. But one of the techniques that they use with that grape and also with Pinot and Burgundy is they'll do what's called a carbonic maceration. Typically, you wait until the grapes are the proper ripeness and you harvest them and you de-stem them, get them off of the stems, and split the skins open. Those all go into the fermenter. The yeast start consuming the sugars. The skins are there to give the color and components of tannins and flavors to the wine. In a carbonic maceration, you start off, you precede the alcoholic fermentation that takes place by taking those whole clusters, putting them in the fermenter, and the weight of all the clusters on top of one another kind of smooshes it down into the bottom of the vat. And it's an area that it pushes out all the air, so it's basically anaerobic. It's just not decomposing, but it's transforming in the grapes. And they've discovered that if you do that, it brings a much more intense fruitiness to the resulting wine. So 2 or 3 years ago, when Cody was here, he was all excited about doing some carbonic maceration, and I said, you know what, we've got some extra rose hips, let's try that on the rose hips. And so he set up a little vat and we did a carbonic maceration rose hip and then fermented it, and I did a traditional ferment of the rose hip. Same basic rose hip, same process, same yeast, same mixture, and the one that went through the carbonic was much more aromatic, much more fruity. So I told myself if I ever got ahead of myself and I had the planning, I would dedicate my entire crop of rose hips to carbonic. And that's what I just set up downstairs for the first time ever. So we'll see what happens.
I'm looking forward to that.
Me too.
Yeah.
After all the work. At some point in the future.
Do you think, is it called Nouveau Beaujolais because it's a new thing that they're doing, or because the grapes
Young.
are new?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's because it's
Yeah.
very young.
Young,
It's
yeah.
very young. Very
And,
young.
and I was in Beaujolais, but I did not get to have Beaujolais Nouveau because I was there in August. And
That was before harvest.
was gone, yeah. Beaujolais Nouveau happens from October to December.
Yeah.
It's late in the game. So I did have some wonderful Beaujolais, but I did not have a
year
Nouveau.
prior.
Yeah. And I don't know, when a Beaujolais Nouveau goes into a bottle, how long before you have
Yeah, you
to drink it
Couldn't you
once
have
it's in a
had last
bottle?
years back?
I don't know.
Because I think there's limitations
You're
on
supposed
that
to drink it
too.
fresh,
It's
yeah.
supposed to be fresh.
I don't think it has a long skin time.
Right.
It has no barrel tannins. It's not built to be a long-lasting wine. It's meant to be consumed young. That's the whole purpose. I'm sure it would last a couple of years, but the whole point is to have it.
You know what's really
You know what these things-
fascinating?
you know what these rose hips are called? This is my little segue here.
I know. Well,
what they're called?
I was going to bring that up, but I was hoping you would because I don't remember the name.
They're called beach tomatoes.
Beach tomatoes.
look at that.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you for doing
All the
that.
beach
'cause-
And there is
you
sort
see
of a
some-
tomatoey.
You know what? Have you ever eaten
I have.
a rose hip?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's got tomato aspect and it's got apple.
tomato, apple character to it.
Yeah. I'm not going to do that right now. I also wanted to
You have
mention.
some real tomatoes here.
I do, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But I wanted to mention to you, Geraldine and I opened up a bottle of North Fork Sauvignon Blanc last night, and it just dawned on me that Sauvignon Blanc
Has a little bit of this.
there's some of the same characters in this wine. It's almost fascinating. I hope I can actually find a way for you to try it because it's
North Fork, where's that from?
it's Conacosta, I think it is. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Conacosta Winery in the North Fork of Long Island, and it was an older bottle I discovered buried deep, and it was actually it's aged a little longer than it probably should have. So that might be contributing to some of the characteristics that are changing the character of it. But it was still tasted very nice. I enjoyed it. And it had some of that rich fruitiness that's coming off of here. Yeah. It's fascinating how similar. And as soon as I tasted this, I was like, this is like the wine I had last night.
The whole grape world, the whole wine world is always striving to figure out how do you get rich aromatics? How do you get the various biochemicals that give you those flavors? And when we went down to Maryland, a lot of those people were working. They work all the time on different techniques to foster capturing that aroma. So when you pour it in the glass, you're like, wow, I can smell this stuff. It's just jumping into my nose. And I don't, I've never been trained in doing this stuff. And it gets pretty heady biochemistry.
You've been training yourself for 15 years, so I don't know about that. But it's interesting because I was trying to see what kind of aroma was coming from this bowl, and no matter how deep I dove my nose into this bowl, I don't get I don't get aroma. There's no, if I squeeze this and...
Yeah, I only get flavors off of it.
Right, I don't get any I get the green from the stems, but I don't get any of the aroma. So anyway, so yes, beach tomatoes. So we thought also we're in the middle of summer, and this is peak time
Shall I
for
toast some
tomatoes. You should put some bread in the toaster. There you go.
That's what I'm thinking, because if I'm going to get a sandwich, I need to get...
You should put 4 then, because we're going to want to make a couple.
I know.
I want that baby all the way to the top. Yep, there we go.
Oh, I thought it's got to be a very light toast. That might be too heavy.
No, that'll be good.
Heavy toast?
Bob's
Whose
the-
tomato sandwich is this?
Bob's
toast?
tomato.
Bob's tomato sandwich. That's me.
That's you. Bob's in charge.
You ever made a Ken's tomato sandwich?
No,
That
never.
wouldn't be all the way on the high side on the toast. Just,
Sorry.
is this like a brie?
It's like a brie. You won't get a
I
sandwich.
don't comment?
If you comment, you
I
can.
comment, I don't get it?
That could be.
Damn.
That's harsh.
Look over there. Stole a tomato.
Well, it's not going to do you much good.
The Ken's tomato is
That's
just
going
a
to be just
smush.
fine. I can eat a whole tomato.
So this is the peak summer. Tomato sandwiches are now on our specials menu, so if you come into the winery, you can order a tomato sandwich. And it's short-lived. It's probably going to be for another 3 or 4 weeks at the most before we start running out of fresh tomatoes. The tomatoes, actually, we sometimes we can extend it a little longer. We can get greenhouse tomatoes that are pretty good, and depending on where they're grown and how long they're on the shelf. But
But we won't have it on the menu unless we can get the good
unless we get good tomatoes,
We have
because
to have
if the
good
whole
tomatoes.
sandwich is
It's the
tomato.
key.
So if you don't have a really good tomato, it's not really worth having a tomato sandwich. So
It's just like making wine. If you don't have good raw ingredients, you might as well not even make the wine.
So I'm going to share with you how I've been making my tomato sandwich for decades, because my mother taught me how to make a tomato sandwich probably when I was 10 years old. So I've been having this same sandwich for a very, very long time.
The first
and
tomato sandwich I had was in your
was at the
kitchen.
winery.
Was at the first year, 2011, when Hermit Woods Winery opened to the world. And we were out of Bob's bedroom tasting our wines and selling our stuff. And he and Geraldine had a little garden out back with some tomato plants.
Fresh tomatoes.
And those tomato plants were specifically for these tomato sandwiches.
Yes,
I'm
they
like,
were.
what's a tomato sandwich? Really? Just tomato on bread? And Bob says, oh yeah, it's got to be just right. You got to have mayo, you got salt and pepper, a perfectly sun-ripened tomato right off the vine,
So
and dark toasted bread.
dark toasted bread, yes. It's got to be good. It's got to have a nice toast to it. You get the crunch to counter the softness
As long
of
as
the.
it doesn't cut the
Otherwise,
roof
it
of your
takes
mouth
it soaks.
That's the problem with
Yeah,
toasted
it is.
Gotta have a balance. Yeah.
It's a balance. So
Can't
I
believe
have
we're talking about how we toast
I have a
bread.
regular tomato. It's pretty standard. I call it regular. It's the standard, the one you find the most. And then I have some heirloom variety tomatoes. And quite frankly, the heirloom variety tomatoes are the better tomatoes. So I'm going to start with those. And I have, over the years, developed my own method for cutting the tomato. You could just slice it into thick slices, and thick is key. You want to have nice, thick tomatoes because you want to, it's the tomato. It's all about the tomato.
Remember the tomato slice on a Tommy's burger?
I don't remember that, no. So what I've been doing is I first slice off the end in a regular slice, but then I do these angled cuts, like wedges. See, and with a wedge, you get,
What?
yeah, it really works nice. So that you get the same number of slices, but they're wedges. And the reason, I'll show you the reason.
They don't shear out of the
Yeah,
bread,
exactly.
land in your lap?
They don't land in your lap as easily. And I'm going to cut off the stem that's part of this. Heirloom tomatoes are harder to work with because they have odd
They're worth it, though.
shapes, but they are worth it. So
Oh, we didn't. How come we don't have a bottle of Ken's Tomato Folly?
that's a good question, Ken.
Where is that? Do we have that open somewhere, Marika? Where, downstairs?
Yep.
It's the meat
right back.
flight.
Yeah, it's open in the cooler. Yeah, I was surprised you didn't grab that or the Winnie White.
Well, we got the Lake House
Yeah.
white.
But Winnie White has tomatoes,
That's true.
but we've got tomatoes.
So let's see how our toast is coming. We don't want to over toast it for Ken's sake. He'll get upset. The toast here, I'm not as worried about it because the bread that we get is from the bread peddler in Samberton, and the bread is very dense. And that denser bread makes it hard to over toast. It toasts. It takes a little more time in the toaster.
And I thought this bread it's the best toasting bread. I like it much more toasted than untoasted. So I think maybe because it's dense, I don't know, something.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's better
much
as
better
toast,
toasted. Yeah. And I'm going to cut this other tomato too because we have some guests in the audience I know are going to want a tomato sandwich. So we're going to cut them both.
Nice.
It's the bread peddler's peasant bread.
Yeah. It's kind of
made
just a
right here in
hearty,
Samberton.
hearty white bread, yeah. Definitely our default sandwich bread. Though it makes a great sourdough too, and a rye and all that, but the peasant is sort of the plain.
Having a sharp knife is key too.
I hate calling it just white bread because white bread has all the connotations of sort of the squishy processed Wonder Bread type stuff.
Yeah. So, see, look at this. This is the bread that came off of from the top toast.
Oh yeah, all right.
And it's still not quite enough. Sorry, Ken.
Yeah.
We're going down again. Just a little bit more. Because the moisture from the tomato starts soaking into the bread. And so even if you get it a little over toasted, it softens it up because there's a lot of juice.
Yep.
So you could see right here. And working, again, this is much harder to do with heirloom varieties because heirloom varieties are oddly shaped. They have areas where the stem kind of intervenes into the center of the tomato. So it's harder to work with, but
This is made out of heirloom tomatoes.
better tasting.
Where did you get the tomatoes for the Ken's tomato? Ken? Do you remember?
From Autumn View Farm. Bob Perkins grows these heirloom variety tomatoes called Brandywine.
Oh yeah,
Of all
I know the
names.
name. That's what I grew up. We always planted brandywines.
And Brandywines are a big tomato with great flavors. And he does something very special for me that took me forever to figure out.
I'm ready.
When tomatoes ripen, when they go through their transformation and turn red, they develop all their tomato aroma. And if you wait till they're ripe and you pick them, they make a great sandwich, but when you turn them into wine, they smell like VH. You know?
Tomato.
They smell like tomato.
Yeah.
But if you ask your farmer to pick those tomatoes when they're fully grown, big, ripe tomatoes, how come that isn't done yet?
I put it down again.
Oh, double
It
dark?
wasn't.
very dense
I
bread.
support it, Ken. It wasn't.
It's got to be right.
Yep. It wasn't ready yet.
It's your sandwich. You make
How
it.
many
You
years I've been
make it
making
right.
this?
You since you were a little kid, your mom taught you.
50.
50, you're old.
I know. Thanks for reminding me.
I know. Well, you're younger than
I'm
mom.
getting older. Just one day
You're
away.
catching up with me.
Yeah. I'll get to be 1 year closer for just 5 months.
That's it, right? I mean, that just tastes like a nice mead. Nice, crisp, acid-rich mead. This is a mead, but it's made with tomatoes. But you don't get all that tomatoey aroma. If someone
All right.
didn't tell you that this was made out of tomatoes, you'd be going, what
All
type
right.
of grape is this?
Let's pause for a minute because we're into the
Important technique now.
important
All
part.
right, here we go. Back to the sandwich.
So the key first is you eat a nice even layer of
Even layer
mayo, right? So not too much though, because too much you're going to get more juice, and that could make the sandwich a little too messy. So there you go, nice even layer, and
Both
then
sides?
both sides,
Both sides.
absolutely.
Nice.
Do you have
even,
strong opinions
thin
about
layer.
regular mayonnaise, light mayonnaise, Miracle Whip?
The best, not Miracle Whip, please. The best,
What? Come on.
the best mayonnaise,
You know how much
fresh,
Miracle Whip is sold on the planet?
and I'm not for it. It's my tomato sandwich. You should not use Miracle Whip.
Mayonnaise all the way.
So,
What,
you
Hellmann's?
see,
Hellmann's?
the reason for the
Hellmann's green mayo?
slices is, you see, the thickness of that
that.
on one side, when I marry it with the thickness on the other side, it allows it to be a nice thick sandwich. but when you take a bite in it, you don't shoot the tomato out the
It
side.
would seem like it would shoot it more.
Nope. And then
This is
the other
critical
key
part.
here, this is critical, and you got to be more robust with the salt and pepper than you would
Do you
think.
want dry fingers when you grab salt, or you want
That's a
wet
good
fingers
idea.
when you
No,
grab
that's, thank
salt?
you. I was trying to dry them off. So I put more salt than you would normally think is okay. And if you have an issue with having too much salt, you might be concerned about this.
Not me, I need
but
extra salt.
Yeah.
I need extra salt too. So the salt is what cuts the acidity of the tomato. So it really is key. You got to have the right amount of salt to.
Have you ever considered putting a little sugar in there?
Nope, because that would be Ken's tomato sandwich then.
No, I'm just asking a question about Bob's super tomato sandwich.
No. No, there's lots of variations on Bob's tomato sandwich because lots of people over the
But
years
salt and
have come up with
sugar
their own.
with veggies and fruit changes everything.
My dad used to sugar his salad. I remember that.
And
Sometimes instead of dressing, he just sprinkled a little bit of sugar over the top.
pepper is really, it's the spice. This is what, you got lots of
That's
pepper on there. Yeah, because it's,
That's why I liked your sandwiches, because
oh,
they're loaded with
they're
pepper.
loaded with pepper, which gives you the heat. And then you put the cover on and you cut that
Now,
baby
do you
in
cut
half.
it straight across? Do you cut it in a wedge? Do you
I like
cut
to
it in
do,
quarters?
I like to do it like
Do you cut a
this.
spiral?
Yeah, there's a slight angle to it there.
Slight angle. There we go. Let's see, the first two tomato sandwiches.
All right. I'll deliver this to the
Deliver that to
live
our
audience.
guests there while I make the next one. And you could start some more toast for the next one.
All right.
Actually, we'll make two more
Yeah.
as well.
Got a lot of good juicy tomatoes there.
So it's interesting, our toaster toasts unevenly. So we have a darker toast on one side and a softer. So for your concern, I'm going to
Oh,
put the
that's actually-
darker on
that's
the
kind of
inside
optimal
where all
way,
the
yeah.
joy,
Can I eat this one?
juice. It's fine with me.
Yes,
Mariko, would you like it?
go for it.
She's going to wait
I'll
for
get
the
on the
next
next
one.
round. Because yeah, that way, because it does, you know, when bread is too toasty, it does kind of scratch up your mouth, and that can be
Oh yeah, it can be
unfortunate.
too much, yeah.
But this way, yeah, it'll hold the juice better on the inside, but not scratch you so much on the outside. Perfect.
And I've gone around and around, you know, we use peasant bread here, but I've also made these on the rye bread, which is also delicious. You can do these on a sourdough.
Is this the peasant bread?
This is peasant. The key is that you use really good bread. This is all homemade bread that we get from the bread peddler. So it's good, it's really good, tasty bread. And let's see, we'll put an extra one on there. There we go. How is it? Is it hurting your mouth
They did a little.
a little bit?
Excellent.
Okay.
So we're drinking it with the Ken's tomato folly. Bob, what would you
I haven't
drink,
had
what
this
would you
wine
drink
in a
with this
while.
at home?
A beer.
You know, there's lots of different things. I don't usually, when I'm having a tomato sandwich, I'm having it for lunch. So I'm usually not having it with a wine. But so that's why we're going to talk about this. We've got a couple different wines here on the table. We're going to try some different wines with this and see which ones work.
I think this tomato wine works with it.
I would guess it does, yeah. I'm going to cut this on the cutting board. It makes it easier.
That's a good sandwich, Bob.
50 years. There you go.
Thank you. Could I have a napkin with that? I know it's going to be.
Yes.
It's going to be juicy. Thank you. That is beautiful.
Oh, there it is. Bob's tomato sandwich. It's very simple. There's nothing more simple than that. It's just tomato, mayo, salt and pepper, and bread. But with that good tasting tomato, oh boy.
Yep.
You see? Even with the excess salt I put on there,
That could use more.
it could use more.
Definitely.
I could use more salt.
Definitely.
Because tomatoes are so high in acidity that, what do you think? How about in the live audience? Salt? Any more salt?
It's the salt and pepper that does it.
It's the salt and pepper.
You gotta flavor the tomato.
Yeah.
Raw tomato, I just don't like it.
But that's all right, huh?
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's everything.
You know-
like you've said, the key is for several things. There are a lot of keys. It's a simple sandwich, but you get it, you just get it just right.
So
Little
try,
things make big differences.
to really help understand how this works, take a little piece of tomato and dose it good with salt and pepper.
That's what I always do with, yeah, when you slice and you get those funky little
Oh
ends
my
and bits.
God. Oh,
The bread gets in the way.
the bread is just like it's a delivery method.
Oh, yeah.
But you really understand the importance of the salt and pepper when you take a fresh tomato and you just dose it with a good amount of salt and pepper and eat the tomato. I mean, oh, it's nothing better.
See what you think. I haven't had this wine since I bottled it.
Oh, this is going to go perfect.
That's nice.
Oh, so why does this go good? So, the salt and pepper and the acidity is softened. That combination of ingredients is then balanced nicely with the creaminess and the honey. You're going to try the good dose of salt and pepper on there. Don't be shy.
There, we got some bread, but I bet it's not done yet.
Let's see.
Only halfway.
I'm going to make.
You want to go again?
I'm going to make one for you, Ken. Grab a couple out of there, because I know you like it softer.
And you want this to be...
A little more, yeah. The other thing, see, so I just switched plates because there's so much liquid in the tomato that you don't want to get the bread soggy. So if you put the bread on your cutting board, or you put the bread on the tray that you made your last sandwich, you're going to get.
Can you hand me the wine over there? Mm-hmm. I really like the way this came out. It's like 3 honey wine with a little twist.
Just a little twist.
It's just this little twist.
It's so good with this sandwich.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry, Bob, can I have a splash of the rosé that you got there? Let me see.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't drink, or I didn't eat my
Oh,
whole
try the
sandwich just so
rosé,
I could
yeah.
try it with the rosé.
So, a fun thing happened the other day. I was working with the kitchen, so I always spend time with the team in the kitchen every year when we release the tomato sandwich, so that everybody knows if
show them how to make
it's
it
going to have my name on it, it's going to be done right. So I worked with the kitchen to make a couple sandwiches, and then George, one of our cooks down there, George says, Bob, I got an idea. I got a modification to the tomato sandwich, which I was very reluctant to hear, as you might know. But I said, go, George, give it a try. See, I'm happy to try something different. It's not going to be called Bob's, just so we know.
George's tomato.
It's George's tomato sandwich. So, so George.
That's a damn good sandwich that he made.
Unbelievable. I mean, every bit as good as this, maybe even better. It has its own place, but. So George says, let's try this. Going with the same theme, we get the toast going.
Yep.
And he says, cucumber, Bob. Gotta get some cucumber. But not just any cucumber. You put the cucumber, salt, and pepper in a container together and you shake it. And the salt draws the moisture out of the cucumber and
Maya does that
softens
with
it.
a number of different dishes where she macerates
Yeah.
salt or
It was
vinegar
key.
or whatever it is.
Really was
It's
key. So he made the same sandwich, only had this salt and pepper macerated cucumber on top of the tomato, and then he used from Maya, the garlic scapes. He made a pesto out of the garlic scapes. And so it was a mayo pesto blend that he used on the bread, and then the tomatoes, just like mine, with the salt and pepper, and the cucumbers, and it was so good. So
It's like Bob's Tomato Plus.
it's George's summer sandwich.
Yeah.
Is that still on the menu?
It is not currently, but
Sorry,
I hope he makes
folks.
something like that again.
I'd like it to be on the menu all the time, but I don't have much sway around here in the kitchen anymore, so we have to just wait until the kitchen team gets around to it. But it's a great sandwich, and I hope they do it again for you because it really is delicious. And that's what I'm going to order every time I'm in here. I might even order it instead of this.
Wow.
You know why? You know why?
Did you hear that, folks? Did you hear that?
It's not because it's not about being better or worse or anything. It's because it's more of a meal. It's got more going on.
Dimension.
It's got another dimension. Yeah. So I think this is probably done. Let's
So
see.
this is like conventional beefsteak tomato or something?
This is a conventional tomato, still
still,
grown
you know,
local.
still-
It's
yeah,
Picnic
still-
Rock
still-
Farm, bought today on the farm.
Yep.
Sharp knife. You got to have a sharp knife, which this is not a sharp knife. And it's beating up the tomatoes quite a bit. That's very disappointing.
I think tomato
I
is
think it's 'cause you
the
cut down on the
test of
porcelain
your
before.
knife's sharpness, for sure.
Yeah. So you let that cook too much, Ken.
Good job. I missed the wine here. You made the sandwich.
All right, I'm gonna do another one.
You're doing a hybrid?
Yeah,
Some heirloom, some conventional.
exactly, because we don't have enough. There we go.
I think it's fine with the rosé, but I think the meat is better with it.
A little too much salt.
that'll
You just gotta redistribute a little
No
bit.
problem.
Just brush it around.
Looks like California snow. And that.
Yeah, it's good.
It's 20 feet of
This is-
powder on that.
Listen, like I said, you can't have enough salt and pepper.
You took it off.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
right- Oh, there you go. Douse it up there.
There it is.
Lay it on.
This is number 2. Number 3. Cut this in half. One more, and we're done making tomato sandwiches.
Round 2. With a tomato love. Try it with some Lake House white.
Anyway, I've got a few tomatoes in just 5-gallon buckets at home, so you don't have
How'd the
this
rosé
you
go
can't
with
do
that,
full
Marika?
garden. It was fine. It wasn't as good as the meat, I don't think. No.
Oh.
Yeah, I love the rosé. It's just delicious to drink, but it didn't quite.
I know that rosé usually
Paired
goes,
quite as well.
you know, just with
It was fine.
anything. But
But you know what? This is so herbal and grassy and
It just,
well, so far the rose hip mead went well with it,
yeah,
and Ken's tomato probably went well with it, and
Lake
this
House
Lake
White.
House White seems to be good.
Those were the ones I would have picked.
I was saying, yeah. So my
Yeah.
tomatoes at home. Yeah, I just have
Because
to
we got
go
a
in
tomato,
buckets.
we have a tomato
Here.
theme with our wines, rose hip tomatoes,
I'm surprised you didn't pick Winnie White.
beach tomatoes. I was going to, but I worry about your alcohol intake, so I decided not to bring that other
You
wine.
should. I'm a professional. How is it with the extra salt? There's a little extra salt in the one. See? Little extra. It's even better. Exactly.
And a little bit more pepper on it, gives you that little bit of heat.
Yep. Oh yeah.
I think my heart's struggling, but it's good.
Well, you only eat so many of these a year because fresh, ripe tomatoes aren't around that long. So look at that. Look at all that pepper. It really does make the difference.
I don't think you can put too much.
I don't think you can either. I mean, I don't feel that way about pepper just about on everything I put it on. So you should make these at home, folks. This is the time of year to do it.
So I like doing BLTs as much in summer too. It's probably later in the week. I've got some tomatoes at home that I think are ready for it.
This one's really dosed up big with salt.
You can put too much pepper.
Yeah?
I just put a huge a teaspoon on one bite. And there's basically just pepper.
Just wipes out the rest of the flavors. Well, that's right. It's all about balance, right?
Right.
You're a winemaker. You know that better than anybody.
It's all about the
Oh,
balance.
that's so good.
So if you have tomatoes in your garden, this is the way to eat them. If you don't have them in your garden, find a local farm that's growing fresh tomatoes. A lot of times you'll see on the side of the road people who have fresh tomatoes for sale. You sort of trustworthy system. What did we lose?
My microphone came unclipped. Wasn't secure.
Whoops.
I find sometimes even,
So I should try the Lake House White, you say, with this?
you sometimes even luck out, Hannaford, for those of you that are around New England, Hannaford supermarket tends to do pretty well at having local produce, I've found. So you can, if you don't have a local farm, sometimes you can luck out at the grocery store even.
They do, yeah. Hannaford's here in Meredith will get some fresh tomatoes from Picnic Rock sometimes, and from Moulton Farm.
Farms, yeah, all over the state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know what I think? I'm thinking that Lake House White is going to win
You do.
for the best, yeah.
Would you give me a splash, Bob, please? Mm-hmm. Thank you.
The rosé is it's too fruity.
It's just,
That's
it's
what it
not,
is.
yeah, it's just not the right vibe.
This is more savory. It's too fruity.
Yeah.
And this is subtle. The big fruity rosé is going to...
Oh yeah, Lake House White is better. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Sort of the vegetable character, the
Yeah. The green.
green, yeah. You are correct, Ken. As I pointed out, the toast was a little over-toasted, and that's too much. It is a fine balance. If you over-toast it, it's too much. Now, of course, if you're buying store-bought bread, you're going to have a different toasting experience. Wonder Bread, for example, toasts very differently.
It's not really bread, is it?
Quite frankly, you shouldn't have a tomato sandwich. No, you should not have a Bob's tomato sandwich on Wonder Bread because it doesn't qualify.
It's not bread.
It's not bread.
It's called bread because it has the same shape. But there's not much there. It's mostly air.
But you know what?
That's bread. That bread is good for like a peanut butter and jelly, or a bologna sandwich with American cheese and yellow
Not
French's
making
mustard.
balls and throwing them at your brother.
That could work too. Yep.
Turning it back into dough and just eating the dough.
And just eating the dough.
Yeah. But I will say, there's part of that is, this is definitely over toasted, but the balance between the crunch and the soft tomato is important. This is a little too
toast
crunchy.
level on my bread,
Too much.
perfect.
Perfect. Oh, good.
On the second one,
Good, good.
because it was a single toast. Single light toast. Because then the bread is chewy with a little bit of crunch around the edges, but not like a couple pieces of cracker that crack, and break, and gouge the roof of your mouth. Because that's what we're doing.
I think the scratchers though, I don't know, it makes you taste more sometimes. Your mouth is all of a sudden so sensitive. And
No,
then
it's like pizza, same thing. I know some people like that.
I don't enjoy scratching my mouth, but it's almost like it, then I feel it for a little while after. It's like I can hold on to the memory of that wonderful sandwich because of the lingering
I'm so
trauma
happy
in my
about
mouth.
this tomato meat. I haven't had this since I bought it.
Is that what you,
6 months ago.
did you agree that the Lake House White, though, is the best combination? The tomato meat?
Because the Lake House White's too much.
Yeah. I think you might
It's
be right.
too much. That's what competes for me. And this was simple enough.
And
that it went with the simple
and the
stuff.
creaminess of that cut the acidity of the sandwich a little bit.
Yeah, I think it went really
I think
well.
you're right, yeah.
Delicious.
So,
Well, that was fun.
that was fun. I've never made a tomato sandwich on a live broadcast before. Bless you.
All that pepper.
No,
If you're going to be
no.
talking,
I know, I'm going to be sneezing. probably.
okay. You've been talking without the mic.
No, I've been speaking into your microphone now.
Yeah, I can still hear him. It echoes.
He gets on a roll. He starts sneezing. We might not see him again.
He's just gonna go sneeze. You're
You're going to hear
go
it.
hide in the
'Cause
closet.
even the worst mic in the world could be downstairs, and you'll still pick up his sneezes. So,
Oh yeah, he's not. Hear him in the distance.
I think it was all the pepper.
Yeah.
He did too much on the pepper.
Well,
So, what do you think? We got another two weeks, maybe 3 weeks of Bob's tomato sandwiches?
I don't know. I think a while. I think they last longer. They always take longer to show up than I expected and that I want, because it's been summer for 2 months, but the tomatoes don't come, and they were late
Tomatoes
this year
were
as
late
well.
this year, yeah, 'cause of the
So we
weather.
only just started really getting them this week. But I think they'll last. I think they last well at least to the end of September, I'd say. I think last year I remember getting them for a long time from Picnic Rock. So
there you go.
we'll be keeping it on as long as we can for sure, and then they'll have to go off, sadly. But worth it while we have it for sure.
Yeah.
Very delightful. Yeah. I think I have to stop in there again tomorrow. No, maybe not for a couple days. But we go every few days to Picnic Rock to get fresh tomatoes and keep them in stock and get some other veggies from them as well, as much as we can.
It's a great little farm. I'm glad we have them close by. And that's the way in which we develop our menu. We just switched to a summer menu too, correct?
Yeah, we've got a few new things on there. Bob's Tomato is always on the specials, and we've got some rotating specials that'll come in. We've got a new crostini on there. What else do we have that's new?
Oh, well, it's not new, but you brought it back not too long ago. The cheese and tomato, what's it called?
The caprese panini.
The
So that's another
caprese
one,
panini.
yeah. We often, that's been a special other years.
need good
or
tomatoes for that, too.
It's another sort of summer special is the caprese, and that's, pesto with, or sometimes we use fresh basil leaves, but this year we're going with pesto, and then fresh tomatoes and the fresh buffalo mozzarella with a little drizzle of balsamic glaze makes it. And that, I think the balsamic glaze kind of takes the place of the
Salt.
salt and pepper. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
adds that.
Intense flavor.
Yeah,
And,
just a little something extra. That sandwich is so good. It's one of my favorites.
Awesome. So I think we're going to. I think we're coming to the end here.
Winding down, yeah.
We're going to end maybe a couple minutes early. We've lost Ken. He's going to be sneezing for the next 10 or 12 minutes. So we thank you for joining us. I hope you have some fresh tomatoes at home and you will give this recipe a try. Again, remember you got to get the toast just right, not too crunchy. You don't want to hurt your mouth, but not too soft because you'll soak up too much juice from the tomato. You want to have more salt and pepper than you think will be appropriate. But as noted by Ken's current situation, not too much pepper.
There is such a thing as too
There
much
is
pepper.
there is such a thing as too much pepper. I think you put like a teaspoon on there.
Yeah. Oh,
So please try these at home. You'll love them. And if you don't want to try them at home or you want to try ours first, come on into the winery. They're on special for at least the next 3 or 4 weeks, and we're happy to share them with you. So that brings us to the end of another wonderful afternoon, Monday night with you. Thank you so much. Thanks to our live audience for joining us. Hope you enjoyed our sandwiches and the wine. And we will see you next week.
Yeah.
Once again, the topic will be a surprise. Imagine that.
Come up with something.
We'll come up with something good. So,
Cheers.
thank you,
everyone.
everybody. Cheers.